I'm Alex.
I'm James.
And I'm Dan. Welcome to the Ragamuffin Awards 2022.
Woo! Let's go. So for our categories this year, in order, we've got Song of the Year, Music Video of the Year, Festival of the Year, Gig of the Year, Live Performance of the Year, Album of the Year, and finally, Band of the Year.
The way this will work is we'll all give our top three for each category, and then we'll use those top threes to sort of figure out an overall winner.
We'll argue amongst ourselves. If we go quiet for a minute, it's because we're just having a quiet word with each other.
Using our
off air.
Song of the Year.
You're both looking at me, so I will go first.
Go on, you go first.
There were a lot of songs, I think, this year that I thoroughly enjoyed. I had a list of 10 that I had going into this that I had to make a playlist to kind of narrow it all down. Some nice honourable mentions, I think, are Counterparts with Whispers of Your Death, Bury Tomorrow with Death Ever Colder, and both of the songs that came from Holding Absence and Alpha Wolf being Aching Along in 60 Centimetres of Steel. However, none of those made my top three. So, actually going with the top three, number 3, I have Coffin by Holding Absence.
Wow, nice
I think
choice.
just absolutely beautiful song and an amazing way to cap off that EP. Number 2, I've got Shaken Not Stirred by Tala. This has become a big song for me. I love how frantic it is, the energy they've put into it, and I think it just shows how much they've grown. But Song of the Year, as soon as I heard it earlier this year, the drum intro, it came in and I was just gripped straight away, and that was...
Alex doesn't know what it is.
Yeah, no, it's just...
It took him a moment. Guillotine by Straight From The Path. This song made me absolutely fall in love with this band this year. Seeing it live was a great experience, and I think, yeah, without this song, I wouldn't be as big a fan of this band as I am, so I have to credit the song for that.
Yeah, it is a massive tune, so, yeah. Dan, do you want to go next?
No. I'm joking. I'll go next. I'm going to skip straight to my top 3. I'm not going to bother with any honourable mentions, partly because James has already mentioned a few of them. So number 3 is going to go to Counterparts for Whispers of Your Death.
Nice.
I was kind of into Counterparts a little bit before, but like this song and this album they've released this year on the whole is like just really made me kind of fall for them a bit, really. I loved this song before the Kuma's passing, but since then it's kind of added that extra bit of meaning and made it that bit more special, I think. Number 2 is going to be The Wonder Years, Low Tide. Just massive chorus. The bridge is just perfect. And I mean, you guys know I love The Wonder Years. I can't not have a Wonder Years song in the top 3.
He loves The Wonder
I
Years.
love it. And number 1 is Guillotine, Straight From The Path.
Yes. Good lad.
Not much more to say there, is there, really?
Absolute banger.
So, my honourable mentions, I've got sort of quite a few. The entire Lost and Longing EP, just any song, and they're all perfect. They're all amazing. Pretty much every single from Dayseeker's album, I loved, was addicted to that album, still am. And yeah, a lot of the ones that you said as well, James. Tala, Shaken Not Stirred is an incredible song. I've tried to base this off of the ones that I feel like I've listened to the most and been the most like the ones that I can just put on repeat for like 6-7 plays in a row. So my number 3 spot is On Broken Glass by Malevolence. I think it's the best song off that album. I love that album, and I just bloody love that song so much. My number 2 pick is White Trash Millionaire by Mum Jeans. I've been obsessed with this band pretty much all year, and that song is, I think, the best song on the album, and I love it. But my number 1 pick is Straight From The Path's Guillotine.
Oh, unanimous.
I reckon we've got an awarded there.
Yeah.
There's no debate. Like, that's easy. I think it's just a testament to, I think, how much this band has leveled up. Even me coming into it this year, I've seen how much so many people have just been praising Euthanasia as a whole and how they think it's the best work that this band has done. And I think this being the lead single just to draw them in, especially like with me, they absolutely nailed it. So congrats.
For me, just as soon as that song comes on, you can't help but just start to feel hyped and aggressive and angry. Or like, I guess it depends on your mood, that you can have like a positive like vexed up energy from it as well.
So our 2022 Song of the Year is Stray from the Path with Guillotine.
Music video of the year.
My number 3 spot is Alpha Wolf and Holden Absence 60 Centimeters of Steel. I think it's just a really beautifully like directed and just a very like visually striking video. And I think like to me the hallmark of a good video is like if I've put the song up on YouTube, am I so distracted to the point where I'm watching it? And with that one, I watch it quite a lot. My number 2 pick is Electric Callboy's Hurricane, for obvious reasons, because it's so funny. But my number 1 pick is Alpha Wolf with Hotel Underground, because it's just fucking amazing, I think. The editing and the visuals and the way the whole video comes together is nothing short of hypnotic to me. So I think it's really cool. That's my video of the year.
I've not watched too many music videos this year, but I've still managed to conjure up a top of 3. Number 3 for me is Lost in the Lights by the Wonder Years. Again, I can't have a top 3 without the Wonder Years in it, seemingly. But it's a great video in its own right as well. It kind of, I think there are a lot of rumours that perhaps this was going to be their last album. So having like a retirement party, or them crashing a retirement party, I guess, kind of symbolises like we're not done. And like the dancing along with the music, I thought was really cool as well. Number 2, I'm going to give another appearance for Stray from the Path with 3. It's just a very straight from the path video. It makes all the political points I want to make in a very sarcastic way. And I think it's brilliant. And number 1 is going to be Hurricane, Electric Callboy, just because it's so funny.
Yes, it is amazing, isn't it?
It kind of lulls you into this false sense of security, and then boom, zombies.
So for me, at number 3, I've got one that neither of you mentioned, which was Eye to Eye by While She Sleeps. I think it was just
very narrowly missed out.
Very just beautifully cinematic, and even see like the behind the scenes of how they shot it. I think it was just very clever and a very, very good video. And number 2, I've got Hurricane as well by Electric Callboy. Like you said, boom, zombies. I don't think it can be described any better than that. Just the switch up is phenomenal. And at number 1, I had 3 by Stray from the Path. I think just as soon as you see that video and it kind of pans out after like the slight instrumental, just seeing Drew in the whole get up as well, and how on the nose it is, especially with the lyrical content. It's just perfectly
It's
planned.
a great acting performance from Drew.
It's absolutely fantastic. So that's music video of the year from me.
He does a really good job of having like a shit-eating grin on his face the whole time.
Yeah.
Like he definitely gets into the character that he's being.
You know,
but
as
like
well.
the comedy of it doesn't detract from like the point of the song as well, which is
Yeah, exactly.
It's the perfect thing,
Yeah.
but you know, by like with that grin on his face, they would have had so much fun filming that video. I'd love to see the outtakes from that if there are any, but we have to come to a decision amongst all of us.
Well, I think being both of your number 2s
Was
and
my number 2?
1, I think it makes Electric Callboy Hurricane
yeah.
the
Music
video of the year.
Congratulations, guys.
Festival of the year.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about Festival of the Year. We went to bloody loads this year.
We
went to
So many.
Slam Dunk, Outbreak, Trees, Truck, Download, Underground. And
We've
we had-
vlogged them all as well.
Go watch them.
We had a merry time at all of them, but now it's time to figure out which one was the best.
This is probably the toughest category for me.
I agree.
I think every festival we went to had its own like different vibe and different thing that it brought to the table, or a certain thing that did really well that the others didn't. So yeah, making a top 3 has been tough. But at number 3, I've put 2,000 Trees. We had
That surprises me.
Oh really?
I thought that was going to be your number 1.
Thing is that I guess it depends what you want from a festival. Like in terms of, I've always said Trees, if you take away the lineup and everything else to do with the festival, it's just a great festival, like in its own right. But for most of the festival, there was only the 3 of us there. We had Josh join us a bit later on.
What are you saying? Our company isn't good enough, Dan?
That's not what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
Dan.
What I'm saying is there were other festivals where we had a lot of people there, which added to the value of the good time.
True.
But Trees, we had the best time, but it only goes number 3. My number 2 is Outbreak. something a bit different, something we've not really done before, doing a festival indoors and staying at a hotel.
It was refreshing.
Nice shower every day.
Yeah.
Literally refreshing. Lineup was great. It seemed to be run really, really well. We got a free gold wristband. If you know, you know. And I had a really good time. But I didn't have as good a time as I did at Download. Lineup was great. The weather was beautiful. We had all of our friends there. And it was just the best time, wasn't it? I think being down the doghouse every night, just surrounded by so many lovely people, having the time of our lives, makes it the best festival. Or at least the one that I enjoyed the most of this year.
So for me, and number 3, it was Outbreak. I think, like you said, it was such a different vibe and something we hadn't done before, and that made it so welcoming and different. And just little stuff like going and walking around the Manchester exhibition centre and just kind of looking at shops. It just felt like a weird thing to do when you're going to a festival later on that day, but it was so different, so nice, and I had all the Krispy Kremes I could want, and that's always a positive experience for me. Number 2 was 2000 Trees. I think especially after being bigged up by you and Rob so much, Dan, it lived up to those expectations and so much more. I think you can tell by mine and Alex's just initial impression walking into the Forest stage of that being like the opening thing that we've seen, how taken aback we are by just the layout, how everything is so well planned, how close the camping was to the arena, and just the way everything was organised. It felt fantastic and like such a great experience. Absolutely loved it, and hence we're going back next year.
That's one of my favourite moments from all of our vlogs from this year, actually, is the reaction of both of you walking into the forest for the first time. And
That's it.
like,
it's
whoa.
so genuine and so real of what you're seeing, of just our amazement of seeing it all. But like you said, I don't think anything for me topped Download this year. Didn't end up seeing any of the headliners for me, but that didn't change a single thing. I saw so many incredible bands with so many incredible people. Seeing a group of 10 people kind of come together as well, where so many people hadn't really met each other properly, and at the back of that, we've kind of had a whole friendship group form just because of Download Festival. I think it's been quite beautiful to see. We see some of the friends going off and doing separate things as well, and these are people that wouldn't have interacted with each other without doing something like that. And I think that shows how special it was, how amazing our own little camp was that we kind of helped put together. It was like our Avengers assembled, and I absolutely love it for that. And the best part is that we've got new additions next year, but every single person that went this year is going again. And I think that's like a testament to how fun it was, how much of a great time we had together, and the bands that were on were fantastic. So yeah, nothing top Download this year for me.
You guys both just gave really touching, beautiful monologues about the friendship and camaraderie of Download.
You're going to put down
But it's number 3. It's number 3 for me.
Shit.
I did love Download. It was amazing, but it goes third just because the 2 spots above it were new experiences that I just loved so much. So my number 2 spot is 2000 Trees. I think just the intimacy of like an independent festival for me was just perfect. Everything about Trees felt like it was made by festival fans for festival fans, and like the attention to detail and the level of care that went into that festival was amazing. And to top it all off, we saw a bunch of really great bands, which I loved. But my number 1 was Outbreak. It was like being in my own little... I was like Charlie Bucket in the chocolate factory. And it was like, everything you see here, you can 2 steps to. And I just loved it. Every single day when we woke up, I was like just jigged up about the bands that were on that day, and saw a bunch of dream bands that I didn't expect to see, fell in love with a bunch of new bands. And again, like just the sense of community that festival had was, I think, really special. Never been in so many pits where people were just so, like, it appears to be so violent, but it's actually really caring. And yeah, I loved Outbreak. It was my favourite festival of the year.
And so just before we kind of nail down which one was Festival of the Year, again, you've heard us talk so beautifully, I think, about all these festivals. We've got them all up on the channel. Go and watch them. We had such an incredible time. However,
Yeah,
choices do have to be made.
Don't just take our word for it. Go
Yeah,
and
watch
see
it.
what a good time we had.
We do have to make
And
a
also
choice.
Truck.
And also
And
Truck.
also Truck.
And also Slam Dunk. But
Well, it was your two's number one, so I guess download.
I think it has to
Got
be,
me,
doesn't
yeah.
it?
Festival of the Year for 2022, download.
Gig of the year.
We went to bloody loads of gigs this year, more than I could count. Some together, some on our own, but what a journey we've had.
Where's this going? Are you
Uh,
resigning from the podcast?
But I am now going to give you my top 3 gigs. At the number 3 spot for me, it was a little birthday treat. I saw Bears Den in Bristol on my birthday. What more could I ask for? My favourite band on my birthday.
It's always good to have a
bloody loved
birthday treat on your birthday.
it. Yeah, isn't it? Yeah, I love that band. They're my favourite band, despite all the heavy music we listen to. So that was my number 3. My number 2, Straight from the Path at the Fleece in Bristol. Just chaos, wall-to-wall chaos. We had so much fun. I think it just sounds like I'm plugging our own stuff now, but it's the best vlog where the live experience, I think, actually translated to camera.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
I can
It's-
see what you mean with
It's
that.
as chaotic watching it as it was being there. And the set list, there was just no let up. It was wall-to-wall bangers. But my number 1 was Architects at Alexandra Palace. Perfect lineup. Sort of when you take into account an entire gig, I think Sleep Token and Malev being the support was perfect. We had a lovely group of people that went with us. It was Callum's first gig. What a hell of a first gig to have. I just loved it.
So for me, your number 1 was my number 3. It was Architects. I think it was a great gig, but I just feel like there were other ones that just kind of tipped it to the post with it. I can't really fault a lot of it. Like you say, the lineup was great. We had such a great group of people with us. However, for me at number 2, seeing Ocean's 8 Alaska after such a long time of waiting to see it after Disparity being released.
Such a cool show.
I absolutely loved the album. The show was fantastic, and they just nailed it at probably my favourite venue, actually, to be honest, at Underworld in London. It was phenomenal. The energy was amazing. I got to meet Chris Turner, which was like a really cool thing for me because I'm such a fan of his drumming. However, seeing Straight from the Path in Bristol had to be number 1 for me. It was, like you say, the energy and the carnage and the chaos perfectly. You can see it in that vlog. There was a fun little group of us that went down, and like you said, the set list was not like phenomenal. And I just can't fault their performance in that gig. There's nothing I can point to and say, I wish they'd done this or I wish they'd done that. It just seemed like everything I wanted was there, and for that reason, it's my gig of the year.
My number 3. Oh my god, I'm going to clear my throat. You're going to clear my throat and try this again. I'll be right back. My number 3. My number 3 is going to The Wonder Years. Believe it or not.
Years.
Particularly the gig that I saw them at in Bristol, the SWX, with Save Face and Beauty School supporting. Seeing them in Bristol, obviously I saw them at 2 of their own headline shows last year. One of them was the Suburbia and Upside's anniversary show. This one was like the actual, like, I guess, proper, inverted commas, headline show. And I just loved it. Seeing them for the first time in 3 years, playing anything other than Suburbia and the Upsides, was just really, really cathartic and a great release of energy. I was just bouncing around the pit, screaming all the words out, like losing all the air from my lungs in the process. It was just such a great time. Save Face were great as well, and Beauty School are a band that this year have just been one of my favourite discoveries for a long time. Their new album just rips, and they're great live as well. Number 2, was staying in Bristol for Straight from the Path. For all the reasons you guys have outlined, it was such an energetic show. The setlist was relentless, and we got some great live footage from it as well, which kind of encapsulates all of it that I like to go back and watch every once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
But my number 1 is Architects, Sleep Token, and Malevolence at Alexandra Palace. It's just monumental. Huge venue like that, a huge band like Architects with 2 massive supports as well. Iconic, which I think makes it our gig of the year.
Our gig of the year, Architects, Malevolence and Sleep Token at Alexandra Palace.
Live performance of the year.
So this is the time for us to shout out our favourite sets, basically, of the year.
I will give a few honourable mentions to this one because I think this was so difficult to nail down a couple for it. Corn at Download, I think, were fantastic, and The Ghost Inside at Download as well. Just both fantastic sets with so much energy and enjoyable. And Beartooth at the Heavy Music Awards. I think so many times we've seen them, but I still forget, I think, how much I enjoy their sets and how great they can be. So those had some good memories for me. However, at number 3, I've got Kenny Hoopla at 2000 Trees. We saw him at Slam Dunk, and he did a great job, and it was a fantastic performance. But I think his set on the main stage at 2000 Trees was incredible. The energy, him coming out into the crowd, everything just seemed fantastic and perfect. And I look back on that set with so many fond memories, and that being, I think, the main reason why I think he's been up there in so much of my listens in the back half of this year. I came away from that set and I was listening to Survivor's Guilt, like the whole album, so incessantly for such a long time afterwards, and it was purely just based off that set. So incredible vibes from that. Number 2 was Not Loose at Outbreak. I never got into Not Loose initially, as much as I think you guys have both mentioned it and tried.
Yeah, we tried
However,
diligently to get you to listen to Not Loose.
For it to be at number 2 shows how much that live performance was able to kind of transform my thoughts on them and get me into them and make me be right at the front for their set afterwards at 2000 Trees. But this one at Outbreak, the chaos, the carnage, the set was fantastic. You could just seeing how people were so into them and how phenomenally they were live just absolutely grabbed me. And after that, it was just, I was hooked. And I was listening to everything straight away. That set, again, absolutely phenomenal, and I hold that very dearly. However, at number 1, I'm not going to tempt fate here because I know I can tell a little story, and I'm looking at Dan and we're looking at each other as I'm saying this.
I'm concerned.
That I think his may be similar, but I'll say it now just in case. When we walked out of a tent at 2000 Trees, we both looked at each other and said that was the best set we'd seen from a certain band. And that band was Holding Absence. I think since last October, being the first time I've seen them, I think I've totaled up seeing them, 5 times, possibly 6. Which is a lot for a band in a very short space of time. However, seeing them grow and seeing how packed the tent was, the song selection, the energy, how big the crowd was and how much they were into it, how amazing they just are live and how much they've grown. It's phenomenal to see. And when you see a band that you've kind of absolutely fallen in love with and see them perform pretty much at 110%, you come away with that just kind of falling in love with them even more and loving that music and growing such an attachment, I think. And that set of 2000 Trees was just incredible. And so for me, that's my live performance of the year.
Holding Absence, for me, are an honourable mention.
Jeez.
Wow. No top 3 for them. Basically, my honourable mentions are pretty much every single band that played 2000 Trees.
Fair enough.
Because it seemed that there were bands playing sets there that weekend that we'd seen many times before, but they just seemed to just level it up for that weekend. There's just something about that festival. Like Boston Manor were fucking great.
Yep.
Stick to Your Guns were really good.
Stick to Your Guns were great.
Everyone was on fire.
Every band just seemed to just step it up, which is why I've got 2 2000 Trees sets in my top 3. The first of which has already been mentioned, Kenny Hoopla. Again, we saw him at Slam Dunk, but for Trees, it just seemed to be on another level. I was a little worried. I think we were all a little worried that the crowd seemed a bit small just before his set was due to start. But after the first song, the crowd packed out. The energy was there. Kenny was all over the place in the crowd, on the stage, and backflips and stuff. Amazing. My number 2 is a little trip to Outbreak Festival for Turnstile. Just you couldn't stop moving. The whole place was just bouncing, shaking, moshing. I think Alex has mentioned like you'd fall over in the pit at Outbreak, and before you even hit the floor, you're back on your feet again. You got people asking if you're all right. That Turnstile set was no different. Everyone was kind of looking out for each other while also having just a great time, and they just smashed the set as well. Awesome. My number one is going to a band that we don't actually know that well, but after seeing them at 2000 Trees, is a set that I don't think I can forget, and it's Heck.
Jeez,
Wow,
yeah.
yeah.
Purely because of just what was going on there.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's not really any
I think
words.
we came away from
It was
the
one.
set
It was one of those sets
staggered, yeah.
where you've got to have been there to really understand what it was like.
And you can
Which
watch
is- which-
videos and you can kind of be like, oh, cool, I kind of get it. But seeing that in person was something different.
Yeah, like the state they left the tent in as well. Like the boards that covered all the tent poles and things had all been like ruined.
Mm.
The ground was all ripped up. There were like hats and shoes and stuff just left. It was like a battlefield.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah, then I won't forget that set for a long time.
fair enough.
I've got quite a lot of honourable mentions. That Heck set was ridiculous. Low That Download, I thought, was just surreal. Knock Loose at Outbreak was amazing. Your Demise, seemingly playing a farewell set at Outbreak, was brilliant. Beartooth at the Heavy Music Awards, fantastic. Kenny Hoopla at 2000 Trees was amazing. My number 3 pick goes to Spiritbox at Download. I'm surprised it didn't get a mention by anyone else. That was wall to wall, just stupidity, but in like the best way possible.
If you didn't get in there soon, you were not getting in that tent
Yeah.
because I think I'm right in saying that was their first ever UK show.
I think you're correct.
And so you could tell just the hype and how much had built around them in like the few years leading up to it, that people like had to be in there to see it. And you did.
My number 2 pick goes to Kiss at Download. It was a childhood dream come true to see Kiss live. They were one of the first bands that I really fell in love with. And I was just giddy. Like, in the way that like I think about some of the bands that have like had the biggest influence on me. And when I was stood there waiting for their set to start, I was like a child again. So I just loved it. But my number 1 pick is Turnstile at Outbreak. It was perfect. I can't put into words how much fun it was. That's all I can say about it. They were amazing. How do we decide
Nice.
a winner?
I don't know.
That'd be Turnstile, won't it?
I guess it must be.
Yeah.
We all chose quite diversely then.
Mm.
We all had different reasons, different things.
Interesting.
Most diverse category we had.
But our live performance of the year, Turnstile at Outbreak Fest.
Album of the year.
So many great albums this year. Where do we begin? No, I just...
Why did you
as I
just
s-
cringe at yourself as you
because-
said that?
I thought of like, there's like a song, a pop song. It's like, so many girls in here, where do I begin? No, as I said it, that popped into my head.
That stays in.
So many albums here now, where do I... Right, anyway.
Is that Pitbull?
Yeah, I think it might be.
That's staying in the edit.
Some honourable mentions off the top of my head. Fit for an Autopsy, Malevolence, Malicious Intent, Bears Den, Blue Hours. Loved them all. Love them all so much. My number 3 pick, however, goes to Stray from the Path, Euthanasia. Just a bloody brilliant... Their best album, by far. It's got so many great songs on it. I think the thing that stood out to me about all 3 of my picks was every time I listen to the album, a new song stands out or a new song becomes my favourite for a while. My number 2 pick is a recent addiction that I found, and that's Dayseeker's Dark Sun. It took me like maybe a week to sort of get my head around what it was because I never heard Dayseeker before, didn't really know what I was expecting. But as soon as I was hooked in, I was like on repeat all the time. I love that album so much. And again, I said it when we reviewed it, but like it's such an easy album to just play from start to finish because it immediately sort of hooks you into like a world that you can just sort of inhabit for the rest of the album. Why do you look so quizzical?
Because I'm really struggling to think what your number 1's going to be now.
My number 1 pick, I'll tell you right now, is Sweet Tooth by Mum Jeans. It's been my absolute love of the year. Pretty much at any available moment of silence, I'm like shuffling that album. Partly because I don't want to let single goddamn thought exist in my head. But mostly because I just love it so much that I can't stop listening to it. And again, every time I listen to it, a new song stands out or a new song becomes my favourite. And it's rare. I'm not usually like a big front to back album listener. I'm a playlister. That's my listening habits. I like to make playlists out of stuff. But that's an album that I just put on all the time. Front to back, shuffle it, whatever. Love it. It's amazing.
It lends itself well to an album format.
Yeah,
album,
definitely.
Because of like the kind of story and the journey you go on from start to finish. I started talking, so I might as well do mine next. This has been a tough.
So I'll finish.
Start so I'll finish. It's been a tough one this year. So many, in terms of like choosing an album, it's been great in terms of having so many great albums to choose from. So there's loads of honourable mentions from me. Malevolence, Pup, Beauty School, Counterparts, Laurel Kana. Just to add something different in the mix there. But I had to pick a top three. I'm scrolling back to the top to find my top three, which is at number 3, Stray from the Path, Euthanasia. An almost flawless album, just start to finish bangers, no skips. Stray from the Path at their best, as Alex just mentioned, amazing. And I'm stalling for time because I'm still looking for my actual top 3. Number 2, The Wonder Years.
Is anyone shocked?
The hum goes on forever. The only shock is that they're not number 1, I guess.
That's true.
Again, I love The Wonder Years. I love this album. I went into a lot of depth on one of our previous podcast episodes when we reviewed it, saying how The Wonder Years always feel to me like they're trying to guide me through life. Like they've got experience, they've learned their lessons from their own experience, and they want to pass that guidance on to other people, kind of as a warning of things to come. Like, you're going to feel this thing, and this is how you're going to cope with it. I don't connect to it as much as I maybe hoped I would, because of a lot of the themes being about kind of parenthood, which is something I haven't experienced. But a lot of the songs kind of are written openly in a way that you can adapt the themes to other things you've got going on, I guess. So yeah, love that album. Love the callbacks and stuff as well in all the different songs. But number 1 was my number 1 at 6 months in, and it still is. It's Sully, Wake Up Next to Me. It's just such a brilliant blend of different genres and different influences, like from post-hardcore to lo-fi. There's even like a little drum and bass break in there. There's a bunch of little like stories and anecdotes and kind of spoken word bits just dotted around to add to kind of a storytelling kind of theme to it. I think it's such a great kind of expression of art more than anything.
Yeah, that is a really beautiful album. Great pick, Dan.
Thank you.
I'll go with some honourable mentions first. I think both of you have mentioned Counterparts, Stitch Your Guns as well. Electric Cowboy Techno, I think, was a very good album. And then one that I've been debating about, like whether I swap it in as my number 3 or not, but I think it makes it as my 3.5 is Tala, The Generation of Danger. However, my true number 3 is Ocean's 8 Alaska Disparity. For that kind of comeback, it's been an album I enjoyed from front to back, and seeing it live was such a phenomenal experience. I thoroughly loved that. Number 2 was my album of the year, pretty much from January until, I would say, I guess, what happened in October, and that was Fit for an Autopsy with Oh What the Future Holds. I'd never listened to this band before, and I think it kind of came about that we put it on the podcast because January was looking so quiet on reviews, and we thought, okay, people are talking about this, let's give it a listen, let's give it the recognition it deserves. And fuck, that was just a great decision, because I've completely fallen in love with this band and this record. I've gone back in their discography, and part of what's tempting me mostly for a Bloodstock ticket, or at least for a day ticket, is to actually go and see them live. Something that I really want to do. But I think you can guess, album of the year is Euthanasia. Since we heard Guillotine, since the songs got teased, like you said, it's flawless from start to finish. No skips. I absolutely love it. I can listen to it from start to finish, and I've used it as an album to get so many people into Stray from the Path now, I think, which is quite funny. Right from the front of Needful Things all the way until Ladder Work. I love it. It flows great as an album. And yeah, number 1 for me.
I think it featured on all of our top 3, so I guess album of the year is Stray from the Path's Euthanasia.
Album of the year.
Artist of the Year.
Now the final category, Band of the Year. This is what they're all they're all hoping to take home this one, aren't they? All the bands that are
So
definitely listening.
all the bands that I've heard from have told me that very thing. Yes.
They're waiting. They're
They've been
listening.
waiting. Grammys, who cares?
I did go for a very personal kind of view, I think, on these with some of them. Although some of it you'll see is like for the wider landscape, I think, of what they've done for the scene. As an honourable mention here, I've got Ocean's 8 Alaska just for their comeback. I think they had a great story coming through. But for number 3, it was Holding Absence. With the EP that's come out, the year they've had touring, being able to go across into America, I think a couple of times now to have that tour, and just how big they've built themselves. 2 Kerrang covers, ending the year with a Christmas cover. They've just gone from strength to strength. I think I read an interview recently where Lucas said they really wanted 2021 to be a big year and just kept feeling like it was stop, start. And this ended up pretty much being the dream year for them in how they were able to actually do what they wanted and go out there and absolutely nail it. So,
And he managed to land a guest spot on a pretty cool podcast.
Oh, which was that?
I don't know which one that
Well,
was.
that's our podcast.
Oh, yeah,
no
no way.
our podcast.
Cheeky little plug for Lucas's perfect gig with us. Go watch it. It was a really, really good fun. Great time. And thank you very much to Lucas.
Good fun, great time.
Exactly. Number 2 was Turnstile. I think for how big they became this year, 2 headline sets, Outbreak and 2000 Trees. That's no small feat for a band. Breaking through into the mainstream, and I think it's being on an advert in America.
Taco Bell.
Taco Bell, yeah. Like hardcore music doing that. Did anyone ever think that was going to happen? I don't think so. I think what they've been able to do and how they've been able to transcend hardcore has been nothing shy of incredible, and has to Grammy nominations for next year as well. Like,
Much deserved, yeah.
as much as the Grammys are pretty shit usually with their nominations, this has got them actually correct for once, I think, and they deserve it. So they are number 2. But I think if they've been my song of the year, album of the year, they've got to be my band of the year.
I
and
know
that's
the gig of the year, weren't they, for you?
gig of the year as well. I've lost track of all of them, but it's straight from the path. It's been the year of them for me, and I've absolutely fallen in love with this band. I don't think I need to say anything else, really.
God, they bloody cleaned up for your awards this
They
year.
have.
Number 3 for me, Grammy nominated, and now double Ragamuffin Award nominated, Turnstile. For all the reasons James has covered, like all these awards, all this attention they're getting, quite rightly, for their album. Like the massive tours they're going on. They're supporting Blink-182 in arenas. Outbreak headline set. A Tree set was great as well. And like playing shows all around the world. What a year they've had. Next up, my number 2 is Straight from the Path. For many similar reasons, they released a cracking album. Played a bunch of great shows. James has covered it, really. They're great. But my number 1, it's got to go to the Wonder Years. I've seen them 3 times this year, which is the most I've managed to see them in a calendar year before. They played that massive Suburbia and Upside set. In fact, they played it twice at Slam Dunk Festival at Leeds and North and South. A mammoth 2-hour set, so that's 4 hours in 2 days on very short notice, which is just insane. Released an incredible album. Been on tours around the US, around the UK. What a band. What an album. Then I'm my number 1 band for the year.
Lovely choice.
I was waffling a lot then. Beat that, Alex.
Trying to think if I've got any honourable mentions.
Oh, honourable mentions for me, Malevolence, by the way.
They had a big year, to be fair, yeah.
My honourable mention is going to go to Stray. They just missed out on my top 3, but for all the reasons that you guys mentioned, they've been phenomenal this year. My number 3 pick goes to Mum Jeans. My favourite album. They've basically been, I think, my favourite band of the year. I managed to see them at Slam Dunk and I loved it. And yeah, I've just fallen in love with that band a lot this year. So they're my number 3 pick. My number 2 goes to Malevolence. Pretty much for all the reasons that we mentioned on our recent podcast where we talked about bands that had the best 2022. Incredible album. The festival appearances that they've made throughout this year have been phenomenal. They've just had an amazing year and they deserve every success that comes to them. And they've done it without like compromising their heaviness, which I think is amazing. But my number 1 pick has to be Turnstile. It feels like we're seeing in real time a band like transcend a genre and transcend a scene, but they're doing it in a way where they're still carrying like the rest of hardcore with them, if that makes sense. Like them being on late night TV and Taco Bell adverts and stuff is, contrary to what some people will tell you, is a good thing for hardcore. OUTBREAK was amazing. 2000 Trees was amazing. Some of the size of the venues they're playing in America is stupid. They are just... And all of this is off the back of an album that came out last year. So they're, to me, the best band of the year.
The thing is, they've done it so organically as well. All they've done to justify it is just release a really good album.
Yeah. Yeah, and put on great shows.
Yeah. I think that makes Turnstile the
Band of the year.
Ragamuffin Artist of the Year.
Congratulations, much deserved. Hooray. Those were the 2022 Ragamuffin Awards. Let us know in the comments what you think. Let us know the winners of your awards for all of the categories above. We hope you've enjoyed the musical year. It's been a very good year. Don't know what I'm saying. We've had a great year. We've done a lot of very fun things, so many festivals, so many gigs. Been very lucky with guests on our podcast and 500 smackaroos being subscribers.
Which I guess warrants a big thank you
Yes,
for
definitely.
subscribing, for listening, for checking us out, and for commenting as well and letting us know that we're doing a really good job and we make great content. Thank you.
Cheers for that. And
It's the commenters, it's not me.
anything else to add?
No, I think we've got some great plans for next year of things we want to do. We've got a lot of festivals already booked for next year, so very much look forward to that. Look back at our festivals from last year. I think we've said so much about it. If you need a bit of viewing in this dead January upcoming here, go and watch that. We've got a lot of videos we're working on currently that are going to be coming out, a lot of plans in the works of some varying things that are very exciting that shall not be mentioned currently. But subscribe if you are not subscribed yet, like the video, and just like Alex has said, let us know your awards. Who got your Artist of the Year? What song really got you? What album did you love?
Happy New Year from the Ragamuffins, and remember, Muse suck.
Amen, sister.